Red alert!
Sorry about that. I'm Tom King. Had the volume down again. This is 4K Skywatching Podcast. It's June 6th, Friday night, 2025. Half the year has already slipped by us. Um, but good news is for me, I have most of the construction work done here, so it's time to put the full power of this lab to work capturing UFOs. And I had a UFO slip by just the other day. Accidental UFO again. I wasn't out trying that particular time. And it catches you when you're least expected. It's almost like they're trolling or it's a trickster. Um, so we're going to show that video tonight. We're going to get into a breakdown of that. The video where it goes by, this is the orange disc. This is a flying disc looking object that's orange colored. So this is the second time I've got it in a year. And a lot of times my cameras are not just up, you know, with the UFO app running because they're maybe processing AI or something else. But the system all the time with the surveillance cameras, that's always running. So it makes me wonder how many of these things are flying by, these surveillance cameras I have, that I'm just not there to see at all. Because if I'm getting two of these orange discs within 5 months apart, if I'm looking really, really hard, uh, then I'm probably going to get a couple of more. If I were to have these things all over the sky, there could be dozens and dozens of these things flying around. And they're flying around at, I think, such a high speed, it's going to be all over the US. So cool. You got your notification. That's cool. Um, so yeah, we're going to get into that. Um, and here's just a brief rundown of what's going to go on tonight. Errol has a new video. We're going to start out with that in the lead. Then we're going to look at the orange disc that I got. After that, there's going to be some news. News Nation has done extensive reporting about UFO, UAP activity in Arizona, and I've watched almost all those. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. And then at the end, there's some UFO news that came out, and I'm going to dip back into the archive. We're going to look at some stuff from 1996. We're going to look at the hockey puck in '96 in April that flew over the car. Um, and I tried to film it through the sunroof, so we pulled over to the side of the road. So I got that footage up. So we're going to kind of go into order of that. And also I forgot, we're going to have a tech lesson tonight. A tech lesson on virtual radar. This kind of came in at the last minute. I got into something known as virtual radar. It's inexpensive. It's how to set up your homebrew radar system in your own house on one of your computers. I'm going to be doing that with the radar. So there's a video where it shows the progression of where I'm going. And the show's about progress. If you look back a few shows ago, I didn't have the radar pull up. I bought it. A guy named Alien Blanco delivered it. It's a lot of weird things happened along the way. Eventually got that whole and mass together. Tonight we're going to see footage. The first time I powered it up, so I didn't know if it was going to work, if it was going to blow up. So I got that footage edited and ready to play. I did have to buy a lot of stuff. This turned into one hell of a money pit for a while. I'm glad it's kind of leveled up. Uh, I ended up buying a 4-ton engine mask, which is pretty heavy duty. I sold it 2 days ago and made 25 bucks off it. So, yeah, things are leveling out. Yes, Sin, and the orange disc that was in the intro that was rotating, stopped, rotating, stopped. It's flown by again, and it flew right by the left, flew through the right, and it went right through the center of the screen. I mean, if I were to put a square in the center, you can do this after the fact and record in clean mode, but if you were to put just a square over the kind of the basic center of your camera, you will find that UFOs are flying through that center. Why? If they come out of angles or whatever, they seem to no, out of all these places, he's looking up through a straw in the sky. Here's where it is. We're going to fly directly through it. But we're going to do it when you least expect it. So you're going to get a little bit of footage, but you're going to have to work for that. If you're going to fish, you've got to be a good damn fisherman. So let's look at a little bit. So I have the full NVR system is up and running. No problems with that finally. One of the last things I wanted to get into was radio frequencies. So tonight we're going to be talking about radio frequencies, and we're going to be talking about a virtual radar system. And I was a pain in the ass to hook it up, but I'm going to show you how that works. I have UFODAP up and running on one of my computer systems. In fact, two of them, but the one broadcasting right now has enough horsepower to run an F-ton of videos and broadcast at the same time. On the lower computer, the one that does radar recording, this one's been running a while. What we have over here is FLIR. I'm not recording in color. Over here is going to be also FLIR. So when a recording happens, all of this data that you see on the screen, the azimuth, the elevation, the horizontal field of view, and everything will be stamped into the video along with the tracking. So that way I can record both when this happens. How I skywatch when I'm doing this is you look at these trails that you see. And the normal ones like this are going to be just jets. But the weird ones you're going to want to go back in is, what in the hell is that? Probably a bird. You're going to want to look at some of these abnormal tracks. And when you're doing that with multiple UFO DAPs running, that can save a lot of time. So UFODAP is running. I do have the radar powered off, but I have some radar lessons on that. What I want to do is switch cameras here. So I also, this week, finally got around to paying the money and filling out the form for the FCC. So I have officially applied for an FCC license. I put on there for 2 years to use experimental radar. And you could see what I'm doing is experiments, a lot of experiments. I don't know if this is going to work. This is an interesting rabbit hole I went down. It's on a ladder kind of about. But yeah, so the now it's wait, and it was really really hard to even pay. The FCC website is not user friendly. I had to use ChatGPT just to navigate through some of it. But I did pay, so now it's in federal queue. So whoever is left that didn't get fired from the FAA will get my application, put it in for 2 years to use this experimental radar system. So this is going to be a few weeks to maybe a few months to get back. And I don't know how it's going to happen. Do they give me a piece of paper that says you have a license to use radar? I don't know. The Tedesco brothers have this. Uh, Jake Barber has this. Not very many people have this. Not many people mess around with this. So I am leading forward and showing you guys the process of how to do it. I had to go back to my previous episode of the radars on life support because I recorded the steps I did through the federal process. When I logged back into the site, all of my stuff was gone, so I had to put all the information back in. So yeah, good. Hey, Cheeky Bastard, you were one of the first people ever started this. No, I started the show. Sometimes I'll start the show 10 or 15 minutes early with live stuff, depending on what's going on. If there's a storm, we might have that. But I dug out some 96 footage we're going to be looking later. So I don't know if we should play before or after show. Yeah, you're very welcome. Let's get into what happened um, this week with the Arrow release. So Arrow was releasing videos on Fridays for 2 Fridays in a row, and I think they stopped for a couple of Fridays, and they're back, and they're also about to be canceled. Paulina Luna, who's looking into this, thought this is ridiculous. Let's cancel them. And you know what? I doubt she's watching, but if word ever gets back, look at the amount of work that comes out of me, that comes out of the Tedesco brothers and other citizens doing their own UAP science. We deliver better results. They're fast. I already have footage from Wednesday analyzed. We're going to play it live here tonight. I don't sit around like Jeremy Corbell waiting for sweet weeks to happen and then high noon a dump and trust me, bro, and all that other stuff. I just analyze stuff and put it out. So the arrow clip. Here we go. All right, there's no audio to this. I had another clip running over this. So some people say this looks like the Metapod or whatever it is. Arrow thinks with high confidence that this is a balloon. What's really great is look at their optics. They have we're having some streaming lag, lag. All right, we're back. Let's get into videos. The lag, hopefully, is the force is over. Right now in Phoenix Comic Con, or it used to be called Phoenix Comic Con back when I took my robots there. But then Comic Con sued San Diego and said, or something like that. San Diego sued somebody else and said, we own the name Comic Con. So before the lawsuit even was settled, the guy owns this thing here in town, caved, renamed it something else, and a fan fest, and it was Fan Fusion or whatever. I got there, and then after the guy pulled a gun and tried to do a mass shooting in there, it just went nuts. I don't go there because I've done that, I don't know, 5, 6 times. It's hard to get a robot in a Phoenix Comic Con. So this clip, let's undo the arrow and let's look at what happened on June 4th. First of all, something popped up on the screen I was tracking. It was fucking lag. It was a black object. It turned out to be two black objects. I looked at them at the time. I couldn't quite make them out. I was tracking them on a 60-inch HD TV, so it wasn't even like in 4K. So I saw these two black objects, and it looks like they're flapping. There's nothing really interesting about this, but at the end of the video, let's just play the video right now and get this rolling and see if we can run through this lag problem we have. I think I might know what it is. But let's run this first. So I'm sky watching here, and I need to skip forward just a bit here. It comes in a minute, and so in the bottom screen over what says 4K sky watching, this black object comes up, and it got my attention. So that's why when I started aiming the camera at it, and then I found out later, after the fact, there's two black objects here. There's a big black object, and there's something behind it, and whatever behind it looks like it's flapping. So I guess that's a bird following another bird. And I lost the big one. I don't know what happened to it. I didn't see. I ended up tracking the second one. But that's one big damn bird. Now I'm thinking this is like a sparrow up that accidentally got caught in the wind, and now it's up at 10,000 feet and it's freaking out. So I was filming this just to practice. And yeah, you can see it looks like it's flapping, it's flying, it's weird. It could also be sky debris. I can't exactly say that this is a bird. This could be a piece of like an Oreo where it's black on one side, white on the other. It's a piece of debris that's flipping around. So I was recording this, and eventually I lost it. I think I'll save this and put it on the hard drive, or save it for later. And when I was going to save it 3 hours later, that's when I ran into the orange disc trolled me. So I end up, what happened is I decided to take that clip, we're looking at the black object, off the drive. To do that, you take a thumb drive and you plug it usually in the front of an NVR, and then the screen pops up to do a backup. So I'm in the process of doing the backup. That takes up about, of the screen, whatever it is with this particular NVR, most of the screen. So it's saving, it's saving, it's saving. And out of the corner of the screen, I see this thing go pew, like that. And I'm like, what the hell was that? I'm fumbling around, I get the mouse that controls that. And I try and slew with it, track with it. I end up going into a wide angle. I don't know what the hell that was. But I didn't have time to react. So that thing showed up while I was in the process of doing something else. So it was kind of like I had a hand tied behind my back, which goes into a couple of theories that if you are totally prepared and you have 6K cameras and a whole array of stuff, they're not going to show up. But you have battery malfunctions or whatever happens, then they might show up for a little bit. Just like when we did the investigation alien shoot with Christopher, myself, George Knapp, and Netflix crew. The UFOs showed up right when I had the camera setting up, and they were getting their gear out. Now, after we had all the gear out, they weren't there. So I find these things kind of have a sense of humor and they troll. The one that showed up in Investigation Alien, that came from the south, headed to the north. If we were filming, that would have been from the left to the right. So this is what happened Wednesday at 6. This thing, what happens is at 6:24 or 6:25, I'm going to this is straight out of the camera, so there's no compression, nothing. This is the master tape. So what's going to happen is at 6:25, in 30 seconds, an object's going to come out of the left. It's going to shoot over to the right. And then after this, I'm going to kill, I think, the process that's causing me lag, because I just have too much stuff open. So that was it. It flew by. This is the entire video. So I grabbed the camera controls. This is me trying to find it now. So something was covering the screen. That thing flew by. And now I'm zooming around. Whoa, I didn't see that. Something went down that corner. It might have been the moon. So I was looking east, and this thing was heading north, and it was heading south. So that was the orange object. So I pulled that off the drive, put it in, trimmed it down. I gave it a study. So next, we're going to look at a compilation from 2025. First, before this, I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go into. I killed my U for that. I have so many processes running um, that one thing is not doing too well um, with the other. So let me show you what's going. We're going to skip forward just a bit, and we're going to go to virtual radar. So I'm late to the party, and then I'm going to shut it down because it's using some bandwidth. So I'm late to the build because I'm doing the RF last. So what I'm using tonight is a cheap setup. There's a link in the comments, in the description for what I bought. I bought this the other day. I have a different one plugged in and running. This is an RTL SDR. So it's like a $30 software-defined radio device. And then the kit came with a couple of antennas. And what can you do with that? Well, you can hook it up to AirSpy, and you can monitor AM, FM, and some military frequencies. Another thing you can do is you could pick up I didn't know this before, you pick up the transponders from all these aircraft flying around you and make your own radar system, and that's what I did. So I had a hell of a time figuring this out. Talking to ChatGPT, it said to download all this GitHub stuff. And a lot of that is for Linux or Mac. And I couldn't, and I ended up screwing up all the capture cards and all the USB stuff. And then I had to undo all this stuff and get the freaking drivers back. So otherwise, I wouldn't be able to show you what's on the NVR. So I got all running now. So if I show you the screen here, here's what's going on. So this DOS right here is called a dump file. So what this is doing is it's processing what's coming through the USB, and it's showing you these flight numbers. So these are the ones it's picking up. There's a lot more than this, but my antenna is not on the roof yet, so it's blocking some of it. So once you have the dump file working, then you open up the software here called Virtual Radar Server. And how you hook that up is you go into your tools and you go to your options. And over here under receiver, this is the name of my receiver. It's that USB drive. And I'm using the raw beast field. The rest of this I left default. You can use the wizard to test it, to hook it up, and then hit test connection. Once you have the dump file working, this part's easy. So then, from what it does there, is you have this virtual server. So when you click on that, that brings you up to a different window here. So I'm going to open that up next. So this is the virtual server. And what this is this is the data from the dump file that's overlaid onto Google Maps. So you're going to put in your GPS position, because by default, this won't be where you live. And then the dump file is now showing these aircraft here. So if I scroll over here, this shows me all the aircraft it's picking up, shows me the altitude and the speed. And you can click on them, and it'll highlight them on the map. This is all coming out of that USB. So this is pretty cool. You can get a lot of mileage for like $30 out of that USB card. Why would you do this? Why would you need something like this when I can use flight radar? Well, I have flight radar like everybody, and what I did was I can chroma key the background, leave the planes, and then put that over the Doppler radar of where the plane should be showing up on my radar system. But there's a 10 to 20 second delay with flight radar, a little bit less with the ABSD exchange. You can use that one too. This one is more like the ADSB exchange system. So if we do a comparison of that, okay, so here is flight radar, and that's where their planes are. Now, and then we can flip back and forth. So that's my virtual system here, and that's flight radar. So the planes are the same planes. Now what's going on is I'm only seeing half of the Phoenix Valley here. This part right here isn't showing up. because I have it against the wall, so I need to mount it up higher in the roof. I might put it up on the chimney. I could also put it on the radar pole. I'd have to have a hell of a long line. So that is the point of using virtual radar. And since I'm using that, and I'm using flight radar, and I'm using a hell of a lot of bandwidth at once, this is kind of killing my output horsepower. So I'm going to slow these processes down. And let's go back to the media stuff here. All right, so what I'm going to run now is a compilation of what I've filmed in the last 6 or so months that I can't really figure out. I believe this is going to start in November. So this is going to be a compilation of what the system is capturing. I spent a few months just doing construction work from April till just a week or two ago, putting all this stuff together, digging a hole in a money pit. Finally done. Now I can go back to doing captures. So here's a compilation of stuff that shows up. November 19th. This is a boomerang formation that showed up on White Hot. So I'm going to pause it here. So we have three different objects here. On the left is a formation of about 4 lights with one off, which is doing a kind of a delta formation of a boomerang. In the middle is another 2, and then there's 2 over on the other side. And they kind of jumped because the NVR wasn't capturing it right, so they jumped up to the top. Interesting. I don't know what these are. These could be birds. I don't know, but it was a capture. So there's a bit of enhancement on them. And this camera was moving around in the editing room. These things flew towards the camera. And I checked all the cameras. I checked the all-sky camera. I was watching that when it happened, and I spun the 2K camera around with the windshield wiper, and I looked for them, and I didn't see anything. They showed up. That was a thermal-only imaging. So here's the previous orange disc that flew by, and it kind of rotates and stops and rotates and stops. This looks like what flew by Wednesday. March 9th. So what was going on here is I tried to summon a UFO, which is praying. You know, that's what Jake does, and that's all they try to channel and say, "Hey, I'm down here, show up." Immediately when I did that, this showed up. This orange thing. So it went up, and then it went down. So I thought, is that real? Is this a bird? Is that a hawk? Is that a dragonfly? What the F is that? And this channel, by the way, is rated R. So don't let your kids around this. This is the adults only skywatching channel. So here again is a recap of, I don't know why it slipped in, but that's the orange disc thing from January. All right, so here's a Tic Tac that happened from last Monday. This was on last week's show. I don't know what this is. This is the totally different shape than the orange disc. So there it is, exactly going through the middle of the screen. So if I had a targeting system in the center, this flew right through it. It does it again and again and again and again and again. So it's some type of long 40-foot, I guess, propane tank. If that's the Tic Tac, I don't know. You can never be 100% certain. All right, this is what happened 2 days ago. This is the thing that went phew and flew by. So there it went right through the center. There it is. There it is through Kianovia. So if I had a that's the orange pumpkin capture. I'm freezing it right here from Wednesday night. It flew right through the center again, as predicted. From left to right, as I predicted. It trolled, as I kind of predicted. And it went by fast. I didn't get too many frames out of it. Okay, so what happened here is this is the same 620 at 30. So this is the color camera. So I yanked every single camera off the NVR system and I checked at 625 and 30 seconds, did anything show up? And that's what we're going to run through real quick. This is the thermal. I don't see anything zipping by. This is color 3. I don't see anything. This is thermal 1, light hot. I don't see anything. There's the object zipping by. Um, it's round, and that's about all I can tell you about it. There's no wings on it. There's the previous one in slow motion. And to me, it looks like the same thing. It looks like a match. That whatever it was by Wednesday is a match that of the object that I captured just a couple of months ago. So here's the one from Wednesday again. I can't exactly tell if it's rotating. This one looks like it's rotating and it's heading down, but it did fly right through the center of the screen. This is the one from January. So that is a little bit of a compilation of what I've shot for the last 6 months with the new one, the orange disc, added into the mix. I have no idea what the hell that is. Hey, or I just got, maybe it's an egg. I don't even know if it's orange. It could be because that's at sunset here. So it could be just the reflection of the sun off it. That looks exactly like the hockey puck I saw on August 5th, '96. It looked just like that. It had a small dome on it. It was just a disc. When we get more into the AI analysis, there's something fuzzy around it. If this one I don't get. If this is a plane and I start enhancing it, the wings get better. The cockpit gets better imagery. When I enhance this, I get garbage. It's almost like there's a distortion field around it that you start seeing in AI. You don't get that with other stuff. But birds and other things, you enhance those, you get out more details. With this, it's like there's a layer of, I always call it like, it looks like fish eggs. It looks like just kind of, you can see the object, but there's something blurry around it. Yeah, it could be an egg. Let's look at some slides that I pulled off of this, and then we'll get into the we'll get into the AI. So I'm going to go through this quick. So this is the object coming out, and what you can do with something this quick. I usually don't look at this stuff. This stuff I usually just dismiss, but this piques my curiosity because it's dish shaped, and I've seen it twice. Now, if I'm looking all the time, really hard, and I'm looking around, is this up there every day somewhere? Just cruising over my town, it's cruising over your town. This isn't just localized here. This is all over the place. This is a UFO hotspot. In Arizona, I live in a good place to capture this. So there it is. It's some of the best shots of the last two where it went off the screen. I'm going to open up the AI now, and we're going to take a look at some AI shots of that. Let's see. So I got this ready here. It's just about ready. I guess I don't have it ready. Oh, now it's going backwards. Anyway, we'll move on to something else and figure that out later. Um, so that was the orange object. Let me redo a whole different thing for the AI. See if I can get that in here. Oh, I know. I think I know what it's doing. This has some. There we go. All right, got it loaded. There's some funky stuff in here. All right, so what we're looking at here is I took some random photos, and I already pre-processed some of them, but we'll do some new ones for you guys. This one right here was already processed through the system, which saved some time. So this is the object one's flying by. This is using Photo AI. So there's a bunch of different properties I could try here, and look at what this is. There's something. The best one is probably the most realistic one is probably that one. You can change a lot of values here, and it could start hallucinating real quick and making something out of nothing, and that doesn't do anybody any good. So you need to uh, use this, sparingly um, when you do analysis because it can go overboard. So let's look at a couple other ones. These are the last images right before it kind of went off screen, and this is what I think it's not that it's some blurry disc looking thing, and it looks like there's some hazy stuff around it. There's something in the center there, and AI can't really figure out what to do with all these hazy. Is it a distortion field? Is this just simply a balloon? But why is it cruising by? I mean, the first one I got in January, where this thing's doing some rotation, I don't think that's a balloon for that. What do you guys think? You guys got some comments on what you think this orange thing is? Am I just going too far and this is just a balloon that cruised by? How come the balloon's sideways? All my archives of skywatching just don't fit in. The only matches I have is from Wednesday in January. If I go back throughout the years, nothing like this. Um, so now I'm wondering, how many damn times is this flying over when I'm just not looking? Because I'm recording a month worth of stuff on these NVRs. So if I were to pull out the whole month, somebody sat there and watched it for another flyby, how many goddamn times has this happened? Because it's happened in more than the two times I caught it. I mean, now you got to go into like theoretical stuff of what it might have done. So let's look at an image that on here that hasn't been processed yet. So I'll just grab, I guess, this one, and then we'll look at this image and we'll see what happens. All right, so we can hit upscale on here. There's also gigapixel. I haven't run these through gigapixel, but is this simply just a party balloon? It could be, but I just don't get why. How did it ditch me? When I'm panning in with this, you can't see it. Whatever it is, you can't really penetrate what's inside of that. So at this point, AI is not really helping. This is just going to cause a lot of problems of stuff it's really not. Now look at the last photo here. Yeah, there might be one where and this is in focus. This is not an out of focus capture. And to tell you the truth, it kind of sucks when you're studying your own stuff because you're inherently biased. People are going to think that it's like when you write a script and you give it to somebody and they'll give you an objective view if the script's any good or if it sucks. And the person who writes the script's going to say it's good. And the person that analyzes their own UFO footage is going to say it's a UFO. I'm aware of that. I'm aware of the inherent bias that's built in when you're analyzing your own stuff. So this is where you got to hand it over to some third parties. Uh, I gave you guys the entire clip to look at. There does look choppy stuff in some of the frames, like it's windows, but then again, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a balloon that's flying by. But I'm gonna be on the lookout for whatever the hell this is. This piques my curiosity. This could be flying over dozens and dozens of times a month, and I just don't know. And one thing you can do is you can go to the National UFO Reporting Center. You can look for this shape. I already did that this morning, and I found just pages and pages of disc. Then you can use Control F to look through that for color orange. This might be a thing. You could previously look through a MUFON database, but that's now behind a paywall. And people are going to fork over like $500 a year. So yeah, that's a bunch of shit. They locked their archive up behind a paywall. So that's, I think, everything on that. Yeah, for now. So we're going to get into what's going on with News Nation next. News Nation is killing it when it comes to UFO investigations in Arizona. They did a multi-part thing. I put a whole bunch of links in the description. And before I forget, I usually don't even mention. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. I do this every Friday. I break down what the hell is going on. This system's going to be looking pretty close. I'm the only person in Arizona that has radar that's trying to license it to actually get UFOs on radar, along with all these other sensors that I use. So hit the like button if you liked all this stuff. Hit the down button if you think this is a bunch of shit. And leave some comments. I'm really free speech. I don't care if you bitch. This is a rated R channel, maybe PG-13. But it's a fun channels where we have fun on Friday. We get into all the good stuff. So let's talk about News Nation. News Nation did one on Linda Leslie. Um, and I do have some media for that. So we'll dive into that. Okay, thanks. Or maybe you won't. Okay, so um, News Nation did previously. They did 1 hour on just Arizona UFO hunters, and it was a pretty damn good show. It was what happened is Ross went and talked to so many people, and then he cut it together into a 1 hour show, and then all the people he interviewed, he gave them their own 1 hour show if they had 1 hour worth of material. So that's killer, man. I gotta say what he's done there is killer. On a lot of these productions, that if you get on one of these, they're shopping for sound bites. They're looking for stuff. I don't know how many of these I've done, and if they have a producer there, you hear the word, "I think we got it." Yeah, yeah, we're done. Because they were looking for sound bites. They're trying to get the person to say, it's alien spacecraft. And then no matter what you said, what's going to be in the edit? You say an alien spacecraft. So they're looking for certain keywords because if they're a good producer, they already have the story up in their head and they're just going out to get sound bites and the clips of what they need to assemble in their edit. People who don't know what the hell they're doing go out and shoot everything, and then they have hundreds of hours of footage, and they don't know what to do with it. So News Nation is going and picking up every rock they can, looking around for stuff. Ross is doing a good job of melting the stigma away by doing this. A lot of other places, when they said, "Oh, I think we got it," they didn't do a 1 hour on these people. They didn't care. So this is new journalism. I love it. So keep up that good work, Ross. And back to the review on this. So it started, one of the ones I watched was 45 Minutes with Dr. Lynn Katai. Uh, she kind of sounds like she smoked 5 packs of cigarettes when you're watching the interview. She was very evasive in this interview. She didn't hardly answer any questions. And Ross tried to nail her down with some questions, and she evaded it. She has talking points that she wants to get out. She's not there to answer questions. She's there to drop talking points. That it's about her. She makes the sighting all about her book, her ghostwritten book, her movie she paid a guy to do, and about how she took off a couple of years and paid all this money to investigate it. She talked about hundreds of people she investigated. How? How in the hell did she talk to hundreds of people? She's a doctor. She's got an unlisted phone number, right? You can't just call the police and they give out Dr. Lynn's number. They give out Peter Davenport's number for the National UFO Reporting Center. So I'd like to know how she got a hold of these people. And look at how she's dressed. Very, very well. Does she look like the type that's going to go door to door? See, these people. What happened is these hundreds of witnesses back in the day were assembled through village labs, town hall meetings, which she wasn't a part of. So Jim and Michael would hold these meetings. I went to, I think, one of them, but a lot of them were during my work hours. So they would have all these people, and they'd come in and they'd interview these people. And that's how Dr. Michael Tanner got like 750 people that he interviewed. And then, unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. He died prematurely, and Dr. Lynn comes around with the ghost written book and fills in. So for 20 or more years, uh, I got to steal this quote. Somebody who investigated her said, she single handedly kept us alive, but she also single handedly done most of the damage to the case because every time you look it up, it's her. She's giggling for some reason. This isn't funny. And talking about her and her photos. Now, to her credit, Ross did not, his production crew didn't show her photos. They should have cut that in, or she should have brought him in the interview, but unfortunately, they kind of did it wrong that way. So I got to admit that. But in the comments for that particular show, and there's links in the description for that, they said she didn't answer any questions, and it wasn't too good. You can tell that her allies have kind of flooded the comment section saying it's awesome, it's awesome. So she tells her clinicians she's on a show, go out and help her. If you do notice that when she does put stuff out on her own, comments are not allowed. Why? Because you get the kind of comments, she would get the kind of comments that she got on News Nation, that you can't understand her, she doesn't answer any questions, it's all about her. The Phoenix Lights is not about her photographs in 1995, right? That's already been debunked. She decided that those flares that they test from the Barry Goldwater range is a hill that she's going to die on. All of her photos are looking south directly towards the Connery Range, and you see the antenna forms from South Mountain in her photos. Go to the Phoenix Light Network, Google it, you'll see her photos that weren't included. But it's just flares. There's nothing interesting about them. She doesn't have anything where they're pointing in another direction other than the Goldwater Range. What has she done other than the Phoenix Lights me case? What else has she investigated? Anything from 99 or forward? Other people's cases? Why doesn't she talk about the boomerang? That's the real story. And that. Instead, she gives a word salad, a blizzard of stuff because she didn't investigate, so she doesn't really know anything. She didn't make the map of where these things flew down the state. That came from Village Labs. So it kind of gets shitty watching one UFO researcher ape another person's UFO research and then go out and monetize it and say, I have copyrighted all that stuff. So she kind of got, if she wanted better feedback on the show, she should have did a better job in the interview. So that's on her. Next up, Ross did just about an hour on this couple here in Sedona. And this is a must-watch interview for anybody who lives in Sedona. This couple knows the area. They know what they're doing. They really piqued my interest because they also talk about Secret Mountain. They talk about military helicopters that come out of this place all the time. This is where I need to put my range camera, the Owl, in Sedona, where this area is. There's a cement plant mentioned in the show that has heavy security, and people think the cement plant is a front for the underground base, that they go into the cement plant, and then from there it's all security, and they go into some mountain there. So there's all kinds of stories. Watch that episode. What's weird is the cement plant is owned by Lockheed Martin. I mean, that's a fucking red flag right there. What is a defense contractor doing with the cement lab right next to Sedona? I mean, that just says underground base right there. I mean, you bought the damn manufacturing process to make it a cement factory. So that's where the Owl needs to be watching. Great show that Ross did on that. So yeah, the links in the description to watch this. And they also talked to the ranger. They also went to the border and did another show there. I just still didn't work out right. But they also talked with the 1 hour show to Melinda Leslie. And Melinda Leslie She does tours in Sedona where she'll take you on tour, take you to the best spots to look at. And probably the nights to do it is Monday through Thursday, I would think, because if you're going there to look for military, that would be the nights to go. If you're going to look for UFOs, maybe different nights. But I would want to know more about these 10 helicopters. Where are they coming from and where are they going to? Now, Ross did ask her, do you use the flight radar? Use ADSB exchange? And she said no. So she should. It's invaluable. You can pull it up on your phone while somebody's looking. She doesn't have much video because her devices don't have recording built in. They're just regular third generation PSVs. But great episode on Sedona. Now, who else has came into Sedona and said we're going to go here and then we're going to go there and here down the border? I mean, they spent some money. He spent some time in Arizona. Hopefully, Ross has a show coming out about the crashing Kingman. That's kind of like Arizona has its own Roswell crash. They got the Kingman, but that wasn't a crash. Apparently, the aliens ditched a fully intact working UFO, from my understanding of, if I'm telling that story right. So that's a hell of a case right there. There's not a lot of UFO sightings up in Kingman, and the reason is it's because there's not a lot of people that live in Kingman. You got more population, you got more UFO sightings. So that was what News Nation was doing. They're doing a pretty good job on Arizona. Hopefully, I'd like to see them cover the UFOs that were shot down. There was one in the Yukon, and the Canadians released the shape. I'd like to see a great episode done on that. So with that, brings us to UFO news this week. Not a lot going on. What's going on is all the crazy stuff going on with Elon Musk and the president. That is one popcorn eating shit show. It'd be cool if UFOs spilled into that conversation. Matt Brown accused the White House has AI that can predict the future. Let me tell you what I think about that. AI that can predict. And apparently it was sentient life. So they had, I guess, AI with no guardrails. And they killed it. Matt was saying, why would you kill it? Maybe he don't know all the details of the story. But maybe the damn thing came alive and it was evil and said, hey, let's use the Terminator movie as a roadmap. Then it's time to unplug it. Oh, that's good. We have Uncle Dave's kitchen here. Dave's a supporter of the channel. Dave, we're talking about doing a Skywatch groups something, so I want to see you show up when we get this arranged. It's probably going to be in the heat. It's going to be hot at night. There's six craft that were witnessed. Oh, is it? That's good to know. I don't know shit about it. I don't, so I'm guilty. I'm kind of a hermit here with this lab. I go out and I do stuff, but I'm pretty shy. I work from home. I don't leave home a lot. When I do, I try to do it in style. So yeah, UFO news with that. Now, how I think they have their own AI. And unfortunately, this goes to the Billy Meyer case. If you ever read, which is very hard to do, Billy Meyer has these books coming out called the Contact Notes. And I read those in 89 or 90, something like that. I was living in Sacramento, California, and I went to the library and I ordered that book. So the book was this huge coffee table book, and rare and expensive. And they said, well, we don't have a copy in Sacramento. They looked through their system and they had a copy in Texas. So the library in Sacramento ordered a copy. Told me when it came in, I got to read it. So long story short, in those contact notes, the Palladium people told Billy Meyer that they can't predict the future. And so I guess that means they can't time travel into the future. They said how they predict the future is if they know everything that's going on about you, they have a 99% certainty what you're going to do tomorrow. Like most of you are going to do tomorrow on Saturday, probably whatever the hell you usually do on a Saturday. You know, if you go to work, Gorgon Stare can look down, it knows where you're going to work. It knows where you're going to buy your beer or your cigarettes, your weed, whatever it is, that's your stuff. They know everything about you. They know where you go to your friend's house. They know everything. So if the aliens know all this stuff, then they could feed that into their alien large learning machine, and they can predict probably what's going to happen based on these variables. And humans are unpredictable. So if the government copies that, which I think they have, and you're hearing rumors of this database that's going to have everything from Social Security, your taxes, government, FBI, CIA, NSA, NRO, DIA, the whole alphabet soup's going to be in your unfortunate federal Lucky Charms database. They're going to know everything about you. Then this AI will be able to predict what you're going to do. You know, Amazon can predict what you're going to buy because you've been looking at stuff usually before you purchase it. So that's out in the news. The biggest story, um, however, I think is the Bass leaks. So let me bring that up. There was a guy who leaked this 533-page Bass report, and I don't know if it's real, if this was AI made or bullshit, but this names names, man. This is a huge document. It's a lot to skim over. And this is from Underground, and it goes into details of how they would put a special tax team together that would go out and collect high value UFO data, where they would store it, who they would hire, how this would work, the whole hiring system, the people who are on the payroll. And to me, one of the top dog is John Schuessler, right? That's the guy who founded MUFON. So the guy, did we know this back then? I mean, there's rumors around that Bigelow bought the MUFON database, but I never was able to pin down how or why. But I think this might be it, that he purchased read-only access to their CMS, which is their content management system, so they could read reports. So what ended up happening, they say it stopped, right? They said, now Bigelow doesn't get these reports from MUFON. I'm calling horseshit on that. Anytime somebody says that in the federal level, we stopped doing that, the NSA stopped listening to your phone calls, the CIA stops looking at your uploads before they hit YouTube and the stream, and so on and so on, they're full of shit. They're always, once they get the capacity, they don't give it up. If I just get radar, I'm just going to use the hell out of it. I'm just going to turn that on. Once you get a new ability, you stick with that ability. Yeah, that on Eric, on drugs or on steroids. That's all out there right now, but siloed off apparently, unless this is already being done and now they're bringing it unclassified, saying it's going to be in this database called Planetar, but it's already in some database that's top secret. They can't tell. There's no fucking way that this stuff is not in some database already. So yeah, this type of stuff is going to be coming. Where they have Panacopia, where you're under surveillance, so you change how you behave. So yeah, anyway, back to this back stuff. So MUFON, the head of MUFON was at the top of the tree. And what, these guys are all getting paid? Well, where do I sign up? Where's the UFO job application? Anyway, so what this means is the people who were out doing field investigation for MUFON inadvertently were collecting information for spooks. And then if you read these documents, they had something like within 5 days, a rapid response team that might go out and interview a good case again. So if it's a shitty case, they'll probably ignore it. But if somebody says something landed, like a Kingman case, they're going to be all on it. Because it's going to be a race. They got to get there. And if it's like a UFO that's been abandoned, to capture that, bring it back to Bigelow headquarters before the NSA, the CIA, or China gets it, right? So, I mean, they'll go, I'm convinced China will come in and say land in the middle of Kansas and snatch a UFO if they have to. That might be why these spy balloons are flying over. But isn't that something? You sign up, you pay all that money, you become a UFO investigator, and all your shit is funneled from you to Bigelow, then from Bigelow probably back to the CIA, and you end up working for the CIA, and you paid to do it. You paid for the classes, you paid for the training, and then when you volunteer as a MUFON investigator on your own good heart going out and investigating these cases, you're doing it on behalf of the feds. You don't get a pension for that. You don't get paid for that. John Schuessler gets paid for that. That's fucked up, man. That's weird. This is all the nightmare stuff that I've ever heard about with MUFON in a document. And they say, we're not doing this anymore. Yeah. Well, then who has direct access to that MUFON database? When you submit a report to MUFON, which I really never have, they take copyright of your video. And now it goes into a black hole. You can't even log into MUFON to read your own report. Who's that go to? The highest bidder. They talk about it in these documents. They talk about MUFON's database. They talk about a whole bunch of 5 or 6 different databases that are out there. This right here is people who have top secret clearance. And of course, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, Jacques Vallée. These are people I believe are inside the program. They don't know a friend of a friend in the program. They're in it. And then besides that, there's other supporting documents of ATIP and Bigelow. So Bigelow has his hands all over this stuff. You know, he seems like he might want to be one of the better billionaires out there. There's a document I haven't even read here on teleportation of objects. So there's a lot of crazy stuff. Bigelow seems like one of the better billionaires versus who the hell wants to inadvertently be working for free for Peter Thiel, who's then screwing you over and going to put it in the database anyway? They end up doing ufology for him while he's looking up all your purchases and all your everything you do. This is a weird reality that we're working in. So that was pretty much most of the UFO news going on. There's nothing going on currently with Congress. I've always said that's just a political theater. They're just doing it to make look like they're doing something. But then you get a single congressperson, and they go up against the Pentagon. They got to call that Pete guy, and then he's got almost $1 trillion of money a year. They say, well, how much did the lobbyists have to make for a campaign contribution? And then these people go away. Their interest fades, and they don't give a shit. So it's cool to have congressmen talking about it finally and normalizing it, but I don't expect anything to get done. If anything's going to get done, it's going to get done by people like myself, Tedesco Brothers, maybe Skinwalker Ranch, independent scientists, people like you watching that will film something that can go somewhere. It's not going to come from a congressman. So let's get into some other media I got here. Yeah. Turn this guy off. All right, so before the Phoenix Lights, I was doing a lot of sky watching, and I was out on a place called South Mountain. So I'm doing South Mountain Skywatch, and upscaled all this with AI. That's one of the problems with all these computers running. Sometimes I have to shut UFO DAP off because you need upscale stuff. So in this clip, a flying triangular piece of something is there, and I dismissed it as a kite. We're going to take a look at it. It's April 10th. And I'm going to skip forward a bit. So we did find some stuff. So I'm using a Super VHS camera, and then I have an adapter on it. So here we got an object that's going from right to left. I got pretty high confidence. That's probably a grocery bag. Here's the weird thing coming up here. I don't quite know what this is.
Just like that other footage I showed. Because it's reflecting all screwed up or something.
So this triangular object, whatever it is, it's not a 3D triangular like a... what would Skywatcher do with this? Would they say this is that tetrahedral or whatever, class 1?
one's coming.
Fuck, you can't see it then.
Look through the laser scope. It's triangular again, whatever it is.
So I just figured it's a piece of cardboard, sky trash. But
See,
I have a
when I got done
feeling
with my cigarette to start taping.
if Skywatcher captured this, they would put this out there as something, as some class, and they say they captured a Sardi. These guys need to get better at what they're doing and figure out what kind of trash is flying around in the sky.
That was like that thing that was down.
So that's what I think this is. This isn't UAP.
It's triangular. I think it's a kite.
But to some it is. So yeah, that was this weird triangle, and we didn't film anything that day, except a couple of grocery bags and whatever that pizza box was flying around. There's stuff that flies around that shouldn't be. There's a channel I know of where a guy filmed a tree branch flying. I don't understand it at all, but it shows a tree branch flying in the air. There's a lot of weird stuff that can end up flying around. All right, this next one is going to be behind the scenes of a few things. This is going to show historical footage of the mast going up the first time, and I'm wondering if it's just going to explode. From there, it gets into some radar updates. So I'm going to cue this up, and here we go.
What I wanted to do was put some WD-40 on there. Or whatever this is. I'm Tom King. This is 4K Skywatching Podcast behind the scenes. Finally have this big thing bolted in place. It's connected to the wood. It's not going anywhere. It's charged up to the air compressor. So when I pull this lever, pull that down, we'll see if this is going to go up or not, or it's going to explode and kill me. So let's see what happens. Air compressor is on. The hatch is pulled. Air is going to enter it. And there it goes. You're right, the bicycle tire will do this. Alright, let go and it's locked. Now, according to plans, it says right here, I'm supposed to shut it off. So I think what I'll do is unhook this so we have no air at all. I'm going to let the air out of the system here. It'll come up here before I can get this. Maybe not. Okay, there's no air in there. Alright, now I'm going to pull this and see if it comes down. And what I wanted to do is put some WD-40 on here. Or whatever this is. Garage lube. It doesn't have a payload on it yet, so it doesn't have pressure to come down. Let's see if it comes down. I need to bolt this down. A little more lube. Man, it works. It fucking works. I spent 10 grand on this, the radar, and all this other stuff. This moment would have been either a huge fucking fail that didn't work, or success. Yeah, success. So next stop, payload time. Alright, we're going to go up 2 now. 2. Can't try it.
One of the cool tools I'm finding on here is this measurement tool. Will automatically measure on the fly how far something away it is. So if I find something like an aircraft or a UFO, I can use this to find out how far away it is instantly, if it works. And then that can help me determine, pixels per feet and all that other shit. Okay, I'm finding I'm always pointing north because I don't have a heading sensor yet. Interesting, it's picking up that storm over Avondale, and I can check that it's accurate by going to weather.com, and that shows that same cluster over there in Avondale. So here's a little bit of more on the mast. So the cement here, this was all dirt, so I poured all the cement with some help and poured these pads. So what we have here is a bunch of 4x6s, and they're bolted together. They're bolted into the wall in 2 places in between the studs. Then in between the studs, there's a bolt that goes through each of them. Then over here at the base is we have a plate that is mounted to the bottom, and that's drilled down 8 inches with 4 bolts into the ground. And then we have these 4 stainless steel rings. And those stainless steel rings bolt through the wood, and then they're all ratcheted down. So it's held in by those 4 rings and the bottom. The compressor system for it is there's an air outlet right there. Everything is in 3/8. So that comes up to here. These are just brass I just ordered into a T. Then the T comes over here, and this line goes to the compressor. I just got this cheap compressor. So when I want to power it up, I turn that on and I let it get to, I think, about 80, between 60 and 80, and then that's enough to push pieces up. Then you turn it this way, and that opens it up. And then I need to lock this in. This is also hooked directly in, so this is the let air out. So you let air in, you turn it this way, and you pull down on which one of the levers you want to go up. So it's right now it's up 4 sections, about 4 stories, maybe 3 stories high actually, and there's 3 more sections to go up. So we'll test that a little bit later. So that's just kind of basic of the mast. It's 11 inches thick, and it's freaking solid. It's intimidating.
All right, Tom King here with another episode of 4K Skywatching Podcast. This week is some hardware upgrades. I've tested the radar, waited for a storm to come in, because basically when you turn that radar screen on and you look at it, it's Doppler radar. And you don't really know how's that working, because it's always a blue sky here almost all the time. So what are those blobs on the screen? And anyway, I was reading that there's some extra stuff in here. So anyway, I was reading the manual finally, now that I have everything working successfully, on how this works. And I was reading that there are some things on the screen that will show you an object coming towards you. It'll be color-coded in blue, and then an object leaving you. I believe that's in red, and that'll be color-coded in that. And then you can turn on trails, and what trails will do is show you every sweep where it is going, so you can see it's moving. That didn't work. Apparently, what I'm finding out is you need to have this is on the Garmin system, which is a heading indicator. So it's going to be a hardware installation this week. So I need a heading indicator so it'll tell when the radar turns. So it makes sense, because I have that on a Panic tilt system, and when I turn it and I saw the rain clouds didn't exactly turn with it. So I was talking with ChatGPT about this, and they say that I need this heading indicator. When I plug this in, this should unlock the tracking system. So the tracking system I was just telling you about can track up to 10 objects. So this would be perfect for planes and whatnot. Then I can take flight radar and hopefully overlay it using OBS on top of the radar screen. So I have the city map, I have Doppler laid over that, and then laid over that, the third layer will be flight radio, flight 24 aircraft. So that's what I'm going to try and do this week. But ChatGPT, so the idea is, I was thinking, was I mount this, the radar's up there on a silver aluminum that's a circle. So I was thinking, mount this on the front, and then put the heading indicator on it, and then have that go down the pole. According to ChatGPT, I shouldn't do that, since I'm doing a land-based operation. They're claiming that I just need to mount this on the house. So if I put it up on the pole, it means I need 50 foot of this 5-pin wire, and 50 foot of that is about the max that you can go. It's pretty close, and that's pretty expensive, like $70 just for one wire. So if I can mount this on the side of the house, then I would need to snake another wire up to the pole. So I have that, and then in order to get this working, you need a Garmin network connector. So this is a network starter kit right here. What this has, as we're seeing right here, is a couple of these T connectors. There's a T connector that came with the heading indicator, and then we have a 5-line drop. So one of these will go to the Garmin screen. One of these will go from here to the device, and then another one needs to have power. So I am back to my third 12-volt DC power unit, because initially this is going to hook up to a 12-volt battery network system, but I'll be soldering wires to feed this power. So there's 3 devices I have on the Garmin network that require power. Now it's going to be this device, the radar plotter screen, and the antenna has its own power. The antenna is able to make its own PO, which needs to be terminated with the connector I showed on a previous episode, so the PO doesn't go into the chart plotter. And then the chart plotter also has its own Wi-Fi, so it's an expensive system, but pretty goddamn powerful. So it's hot out here. What I'm going to do is a little bit of magic. I'm going to go for a swim. I'm going to snap my fingers, and when I do, this will be assembled and completed. All right, here is the network device connected, pretty much. So I have these 3 T's connected. The center is going to be the device. This here goes to the power, which I haven't done yet. And then this goes to the Garmin screen. And now I'm thinking about it, I already have one of these powers that I did for the antenna. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up the power that's in the lab, and then I'm going to unhook this. I'm going to unhook the antenna, hook this up to the screen. That should work, because I don't think I need 12 volt for this, 12 volt for the antenna. I'm thinking 12 volt should power everything in the chain. So that would save me like 40 bucks, and I can send this back. I won't need that, but I'll need another T connector. So experiment next is going to try that.
The back of the radar screen, there's another network place to plug into using the HDMI out. I can't piggyback the power together like I thought, because this is like a, I don't know, a 9 or 11 volt pin wire, but right here is the network, so that's where you need to connect that. I'm also recording the Doppler radar on OBS, so later I can play this back and then spin this or fast forward this through high speed, and then I can see the clouds move, and then how the clouds move as tonight's storm goes over. Radar update. I have the heading indicator. I just have it installed onto this network, and it goes into the radar. So what that does is that unlocks something called mmap, right? So what that does is now it tracks moving targets, and I can see with this the trails of moving targets. So this should allow me to start watching planes and start tracking them. So you can now see that this is tracking stuff coming to and from me. So we now have this targeting shit.
Yeah, targeting shit unlocked. Didn't even know that was available in the system until I got a heading indicator. That was the one thing ChatGPT got right. So when I got the heading indicator, then this MARPA stuff is there. And that's basically just stop boats from colliding each other. But I'm kit bashing a lot of stuff together. So I'm trying to take the technology from Garmin and then overlay it with radar, virtual radar. Probably use that instead of flight radar. Whichever uses the least amount of bandwidth and the least amount of processing power. And lay that over so that way you can see on the screen, these blobs are where the aircraft are from the MARPA. And if the UFO's on there, I can touch a button, it'll show me how far away the bogey is. So there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, technically, Garmin can detect planes and all that stuff. Their stream is encrypted, so you can't hack into it. They filter out on purpose stuff like that. But I don't think they can filter out moving targets, like a plane. And I don't think they're going to know what it is. And it has like a 20, the beam has a 20 degree, so it's not going to see what's above you. That's why I have it at a tilt to get over the trees. And basically, I'm not going to have 360 radar, I don't think, with this. I'm going to have kind of maybe 90 degree, 120 degree kind of field, and I'm going to be up at about a 45 degree tilt. That way we'll get anything in front of me, and if the camera is pointed in that particular direction, it'll be interesting. So a lot of processes have to go down for that to work. I have to, one computer, have to record through OBS the raw data from the radar. That computer sends it up through a capture card to this other computer here that then would overlay and record the flight radar on top of my radar. So that'd be a hybrid system. So nobody's doing anything like I'm doing. Nobody, if they are, they ain't talking about it. They ain't telling you how the hell they're doing it. They just have it working, and that's it. So if you missed earlier, or if the stream what the fuck, I did apply for the FCC license on Wednesday. It was $170. I don't know when the hell they're going to get back to me. It's going to be, I'm thinking 3 weeks to maybe 3 months. And if they deny me, I'll appeal it. If I have to, I'll go take a class at the University of ASU, take an astronomy class just to get in. Then I'm going to tie the system to the university and say, now I'm using it through ASU, try to get a professor to sign up or sign off or something. So I pretty much get what I target. If I have my mind set to it, eventually I get my hands on it and get working. So, yeah, as this person, a friend of mine said, that was a big gamble. to buy all this equipment and to buy all this stuff and then hope the hell it works. So far, you know, I'm holding, you know, some about, you don't have the right cards. Well, I'm playing 21 every time so far. So, yeah, wish me luck on that. Uh, I did hear back finally after 3 months. I am almost cleared to get eye surgery. So they're going to cut this left eye open. I think take the cornea out and put in some piece of plastic they got from China and charge me almost as much as that radar costs. But if I'm going to spend money on this radar, I'm going to spend money on my health. And so tomorrow I'm going to be mounting this on the roof. It's going to be 108, I think, tomorrow, 105, 108. I need to mount this on the roof, and then I got some extensions that go up. And then the radio frequency antennas will go down through here and then channel into the house. So then I'll pick up more air traffic because I'll have it 360. So I'm getting around to more RF stuff. I'm not an expert on that. And I admit it, I know my limitations. I don't have Dunning-Kruger. I know there's a lot of stuff I don't know, and I'm willing to admit it. I'm not an expert on everything, but on some of the stuff I do know, I'm really fucking good at. So that was some back scene compilation stuff. I got one more video I'm going to drop here. This is an old video. I think it was, what's funny is I think it was right after this Skywatch on South Mountain, maybe a week later. Me and my wife were cruising around, for some reason, Luker Air Force Base over in Glendale. And we were driving around, and I had my big AG, what's it, the AG 450, that Super VHS camera that I filmed the Phoenix Lights with. I saved up some money and bought that. That was about $750 used back in 1996 when I bought it. I have no idea what that costs new. I would say $1,800 or something. And then with inflation now, I don't know what that'd be, $6,000 on that damn thing. I mean, but I did get, you know, a few extra lines of resolution over VHS. So what happens in this video, we're driving around, because Glendale's not our side of town, so we're sightseeing. There's a bunch of palm trees. And what happens is this object comes down, and to me it looked like the Millennium Falcon. And it was coming down from space and then getting lower and lower. And I'm like, oh shit, hockey puck, I thought. So I started filming it. The clip's about 2 to 3 minutes long. So this shows the entire process that me and Rhonda went through of having a camera at the ready, having a battery charged, having tape in it. Something happens, and I'm quick enough because I know it's about 27 seconds to power that on. Let the thing spin, you hit a record button, and then finally records. I got a little bit of this hockey puck. Then I tried to film it through the roof. Then I said, fucking pull over, pull over. So we pulled over on the side of Highway 60, or probably around 65th Avenue or something like that. So let's look at the UFO that flew over the car that was up converted for 4K AI. And there's some stuff that isn't perfect with it. I'm going to run it through another machine.
It's all-you-can-eat spaghetti dinners at Smitty's Restaurants. Just $4.99. Great. That was a big cheese.
Open the fucking roof. What is that? Right on the side of the fucking road there.
Fucking cars. On the hot side of the freeway?
Yeah, right here.
So that was the UFO that flew over the car um, in '96 in April. I did get a little bit of it through the sunroof, but it was out of focus. I got a little bit of it in the beginning. I'm going to run it through a few 4K AI engines. It's probably shit footage. Could be a grocery bag. I'm not making a big deal of it. Just showing you here's what the process is. That if we have to, we'll pull over right there and then it stop. And on the freeway like that, you're risking getting rear-ended by somebody else. So yeah, always have a camera on you. And I was seeing these UFO hockey puck things and recording them about every 6 weeks back in the 90s. And then it slowed down in 98. At this point, with the system I have, if there's an active flap, I'm recording something before the lab updates about every 6 to 9 months. I would get something around the level of the M video or something that's not flying by real quick, but something interesting. At this point, it's looking like I'm collecting something on average now, maybe every 2 months. So the number of captures are increasing because the number of cameras in the collection system has increased. The last few months, I don't have a lot to show for it because I'm showing you building that fucking radar and on home bags of Quikrete after work every night. Jesus Christ, I'm glad it's over with. I wondered if I was going to hold up. I don't know what's going on now. I'm not holding up. This disease I have called PRP is back. It was dormant for 9 months. Now it's popping up. The skin's starting to fall off my hands. I was hoping this wasn't going to happen. But this morning I woke up and it started falling off my fingertips. So by knowing this, and then now it's instead of slowly taking over me, it's just it's hitting everywhere. Arms, legs, back. It's very itchy. You start itching it and then you rip your skin open and it goes great. That's what we intended to do. So it takes a lot not to itch when this is all over. So I'm going to continue doing this podcast. I'm going to continue working forward, work through this, and now at least I know what the hell I have when I was diagnosed. But the drugs that they put me on are like cancer drugs to try and wipe this out. Not very many people have to deal with this goddamn shit. So I'm going to try and get everything done construction-wise while I still have skin on my body. Ooh, so this has been fun number 25. I didn't even know how this would go when I started this. I knew when I started the podcast they're going to be shitty, and they would move up. Sometimes they're still shitty. I got a few audio problems. But yeah, the gear is here. Hopefully I get this license from the FAA soon. And start using radar a couple of years, and I move a path forward and I move the ball down the hill or down the field a little bit better for just the guy who's funding himself, who's doing his own homebrew science here, doing as much as I can with the equipment I have. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get another capture next week. I am going to be looking out for that disc pumpkin-looking thing. That's now kind of got on my radar. That's something that I should look for. That maybe there's a lot more of these things flying by than before. But I do know that statistically, no matter what direction these cameras are pointing, it's going to come out this side of the screen. It's going to go this way. It's going to go through the center of the screen. If it comes up from the corner, it's going to dive bomb through. That's weird. That's weird. I told a friend of mine, and he goes, "You know what? It happens in my footage too. Maybe it happens in your footage." Yeah, if the military turns the beacons off, you're not going to get anything. I mean, I'm surprised they don't have military to military beacon only. If they don't have that, that needs to be invented. So that way the military can turn off their radar, fly around and do what they do. I'm sure they have it. I mean, they have communication. I don't know what they do. They don't fly into each other. It's dangerous at night. Yeah, might have been a few up bombs there. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Let's fill this up. Went through the Arrow video tonight. Nothing to write home about. Showed the orange disc, whatever that thing is. I don't know. It's back. Could be a balloon, but I usually don't do this, but I'm weighing on this as a UAP because I have two videos of it. It's flying directly through the center of my camera. Of all the places I could point it, it flies through my camera. It trolled me. It got me at a point where I couldn't pan with it. I want to get more footage. And I say this on here, I am going to record another UFO. And I do. And then you tune in and you see what the hell I got from previous. And I put them on a pretty timely basis anymore. So if I get something new and it's pretty good, might put out a blurb on Twitter or something, then it's going to be here shown to you on Friday night. Wish we could get some transparency out of Avi Loeb. He's been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and so far he hasn't put out any UAP footage. He said it was going to take him a year to figure it out. Skywatcher Jake and his crew said they're going to have something by the end of 2025. Finding these is very, very hard. That's the actual hard part, is to get one to show up on your finding system. Then you have the other systems aim and figure out what the hell is this thing. So it's a fun mystery. Fish, sky hunt for these things. So, had a few people out, not too many big audience tonight. My buddy Dave Altman was here, Sin was here, John Andrews, I'm sorry, I did not see you were here. Thanks for stopping by. Cheeky Bastard was there. Mr. Bubble, you caught a live show. You should have turned out for that Nick Pope MUFON thing. Nick's a friendly guy. He's a nice guy. I didn't like him previously, but over the years I realized, you know what? I'm just jealous he's got a good gig. He's a good, friendly dude. I'm glad he has it. Good for him. You know, that could be possible. Now that the National UFO Reporting Center has an optimized database, or one place you can look. For some reason, you can't download videos from the National UFO Reporting Center. That kind of sucks because what can you do? I don't know. I would say call Peter. Peter's a great dude. He was at Contact in the Desert. That's the other thing that happened on the news. People went to Contact in the Desert. There was no huge groundbreaking thing that they saved for Contact in the Desert that came out. But everyone that went there had a good time. And there was a bunch of people that networked, and they left with many more UFO friends than they had when they went there. So I might end up going to one of those and just hang out. I don't know if I'll catch all this stuff. But anyway, if you want to study stuff like this, Dave, this is what I started doing. I just haven't had the time to drill down yet. Go to the National UFO Reporting Center and then select by object size and select boomerang. And then from there, you're going to see pages and pages and pages and pages of boomerangs. So there's a lot of pictures in there, and there's some videos in there. So you can go through all of the boomerang sightings from start, get some coffee, and start going through those and looking at those reports. There's so many of them I haven't went through. There could be some hidden nuggets in there. I'm sure the best of the best Peter talks about and brings forward to the UFO community. But there's always some hidden nuggets in there. So you can go through there, look at their photos, look at their videos, look at the descriptions, and we'll find out that same boomerang that flew over Phoenix 28 years ago, it's been flying. I think it's the same pair that flew over Russia, flew over New Mexico 5 years ago. Gets around. That thing was not parked. That thing wasn't a test. Whatever that object was, it wasn't a hologram. Nobody knows what it is. From the people I talked to, that was a ship from another planet. That was what happened on the night of March 13th was something, I think, from another civilization, a break-off civilization, or one that's way, way ahead of us that just came here for a trip to look at all the sites in Phoenix. Who the hell knows? My kind of theory that I'm sticking with, why did the Phoenix lights happen? Well, I'm thinking, what did the Clinton administration do to piss off these aliens previously? I mean, are they using that? We don't know that there's a top secret crash retrieval program and they shot down a UFO and forced it to land that's friends with whoever was in that boomerang and triangle, and it pissed them off. And they said, well, you want to fuck with us? We'll show you. You don't fuck with us, we fuck with you. And they flew all their stuff over the city, and then the government went into a panic, went to DEFCON 2, and they freaked the hell out. And then, okay, we won't shoot that. Because I always wondered, stuff like the Roswell crash, if they happen, why don't they come and pick up their friends? If there's a survivor, why don't the Grey come get that survivor? Or if it's a human that crashed, and alien human come get them. They just seem to leave them behind sometimes. Very, very weird. But I think I've maybe March 13th, my theory. Why it happened? Because the federal government, with their top secret programs, pissed them off. Because we talked about many times what happened was the show of force. And they showed some force. So the force happened with those aliens that night. And what led them to do it? Well, I think they made something, U.S. government, got them angry. So I'm going to lead with the same outro video I had last time. Just a little bit of time lapse. We'll see you guys next Friday, episode 26, 4K Skywatch podcast. I'm Tom King. Thanks for watching.